Welcome to Fast Effect Doublespeed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games Discord, as we're playing live over the internet for Red, all the way from Germany on Eldrazi post, been putting up fantastic results, leading out very strong here with an Ancient Tomb into Sphere of Resistance. Following it up with a Cloud post, he'll likely have some time to develop his mana base. Thanks to the Sphere Resistance, not too many decks are going to be able to kill you in a hurry with a Sphere on board. Show and Tell, probably one of the only combo decks that can really get the job done through that. And even then, it's going to be significantly slower, potentially allowing for some type of interaction. And we've got a Thought-Knot Seer coming down. These Cloud posts go along exponential growth. And a Shark Typhoon looks like it's getting cycled in response to this Thought-Knot Seer to get a 1/1. And we see Snapcasters, Jace, a whole bunch of potential along with that Standstill. But right now, Nick very far behind thanks to the Sphere Resistance. It's also going to make it difficult to convert that card advantage from Standstill. Standstill really shines when you can convert that card advantage either into an overwhelming amount of counterspells to protect your board or just committing to the board. One of my previous favorite iterations of Standstill decks, Dreadstill, famously able to convert Stifle and Dreadnought into a very serious clock, which would certainly dwarf a Thought-Knot Seer. Sharkstill, a little bit less explosive, but it has proven to be a formidable deck in this new meta now. Glimmerpost, gaining for Red back some life. Oof, Ugin. That merits a Force of Will pitching Standstill, and that card would have absolutely taken over. Every part of that card synergizes extremely well with Eldrazi post, and we've got a Teferi coming down at 4 mana, able to bounce the Thought-Knot Seer. We'll see what Nick can do with this opening. He can potentially get some chump blockers together. Oh, that can't be good. Eyeballing a pretty significant amount of mana here. 6 mana. Replaying the Thought-Knot Seer with 1 floating. Now, if Nick can get down a couple of Snapcaster Mages, that would be an interesting board state. And Jace the Mind Sculptor is going to be taken, as he can actually just continually bounce the Thought-Knot Seer. Oh, wow. Karn. Exact mana for Karn now. And I can't feel very good about Nick's chances here. We'll see what card for Red gets it first. It's going to be a Walking Ballista. Going to keep some pressure going. But next turn, Karn's going to be able to grab Mycosynth Lattice. And that'll completely lock the game up. Nick has to have a counter for this Lattice, and even if he does, Karn eventually gets there. One of the things that people sometimes miss about just how grindy that card is you can actually go get your Tormod's Crypts out of the sideboard and then exile your own graveyard to give you more chances at your Mycosynth Lattice, as the card gets cards from exile or from outside the game, similar to the way that Wishes used to work. Yeah, Karn the Great Creator is absolutely brutal. Oh, Fred not actually going for the lock there. I am surprised by that. Another Sphere of Resistance. We have a Spell Pierce stopping the sphere. Walking Ballista's got the situation pretty strongly in check. We got Sphere of Resistance animating. A slightly risky move, as Nick would be very happy to Swords to Plowshares the Sphere of Resistance and give himself some type of chance to interact without having to continually pay an additional mana. Ponder at 2. Desperate times here. Really does not feel good. Ponder at 2 feels awful pretty much all the time, but when you're this far behind, it's just not a whole lot you can draw into. It's like even a card like Supreme Verdict isn't truly going to resolve this situation for you. Teferi ticks up to 3. And Nick's actually just going to pack it in here. He knows that this is going to be a big task ahead of him to get games 2 and 3, so he's going to give himself enough time as Fared picks up this first game with just pretty overwhelming advantage. Karn, it's a heck of a Magic card. And Nick able to stop the Ugin, which also would have overwhelmed the game. Those Planeswalkers so strong in this colorless shell. I've actually played around quite a bit with blue-green post, and I'm not actually sure which version I'd rather run right now. I'd probably have to give some of these colorless builds a run. Primeval Titan is incredibly strong. Euro I wasn't thrilled with. Thought-Knot Seer is a very good Magic card. Colorless is the type of deck that's just going to keep getting better over time in terms of printings. I mean, they're going to keep printing colorless cards, and things like Golos can really just kind of give a archetype a little bit of a shot in the arm. The interaction with Golos and the Cascading Cataract is fun, though I don't actually know if it's good enough. I've been kind of unimpressed with it. Usually there's a line that actually wins, whereas getting the Cascading Cataract sometimes results in a win, sometimes results in whiffing. So you're kind of passing very often on basically a sure thing. You know, grabbing Eye of Ugin, for example, very often will just allow you to end up taking infinite turns. And that's one of the really cool things about this type of deck is I'm not sure if Fared's version can do this, but I did see a Karakas. You can actually just get infinite turns. Just like straight up lock your opponent out to the point where you have Emrakul and you're just swinging each turn, bouncing it with Karakas, replaying it, taking an extra turn, and if you have another Titan in your deck, that's actually going to be infinite. You can just keep doing that and get to the point where you're going to be discarding the other Titan to shuffle back in, for example, a Kozilek. It is pretty insane. Even without that, you could easily get to the point where you've got enough turns queued up where you could use Eye of Ugin to go get Emrakul out of your deck after you've discarded him for turn. So you don't even need multiple Eldrazi, really, to take those infinite turns. Ancient Tomb, another strong start here. Nick has a Scalding Tarn with no play and a Chalice at 1. That gets a Spell Snare. It's going to be one of the stronger cards in this matchup. Lots of dangerous cards at 2 mana. Chalice decks, usually the curve is going to be starting at 2, and it can be overloaded with things like Chalice for 1, Sphere of Resistance. Depending on the build of Eldrazi, sometimes they have the smaller like Eldrazi Mimic in there, though I don't anticipate in this build that Fred will have that. This looks like it's really going over the top with those Planeswalkers. And a Sphere of Resistance does stick. And truthfully, I'm not even sure which one's worse for the deck. They're both really, really bad. A Thought-Knot Seer now. I think we should have had one more mana being paid for that, but not going to be relevant as we're just draw go as Nick is stuck on a single land. Had to fetch for a Spell Snare. And just at the mercy of the top of the deck now, hoping to find that second land. Golos feels pretty bad when you have such a significant mana disadvantage here. And it's going to be a... Is that an Inventor's Fair? Looks like Inventor's Fair. Yeah, well, it's totally Inventor's Fair. We've got Grim Monolith. This is pretty graphic. Inventor's Fair, you can pay for and sacrifice it to go get an artifact out of your deck. You can activate that only if you have 3 or more artifacts, which we do have. Oh, and Cascading Cataract. Now spinning the wheel. Getting a Sphere of Resistance, a land. Not sure if that might have been an extra land there. We'll see how this plays out. But I mean, it's pretty much over. Fred's going to be able to dig repeatedly. Nick going to defiantly force of will this Thought-Knot Seer, try and slow things down. Oh, and another Thought-Knot Seer. There's a Blood Moon. Far too little too late there. Even with it on board, at this point, Fred's mana base actually going to be able to cast most things in his deck pretty easily. The life total is tied at 11 all, but this is not even remotely close as Nick scoops it up as a really overwhelming victory there for Eldrazi Post. The deck is very, very dangerous, and I'm not going to lie, I think it's pretty underplayed. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.